Ryan learned the hardest lesson of his life on the day his bank account hit zero, and not a single person he had helped showed up for him. He had always believed one thing: if I'm good to people, life will be good to me. But that night, sitting alone in his apartment, staring at unpaid bills and unanswered messages, Ryan whispered a question that so many of us have felt deep in our bones. Why does being good always cost the most? Ryan was the kind of man people trusted without question. He was a friend who picked up calls at 2 a.m., no matter how tired he was. The coworker who stayed late so others could leave early for their family events. The son who sent money home every month, even when he barely had enough left for himself. At 31, Ryan worked a steady, but not glamorous, job in logistics at a mid-sized company in Ohio. It was just enough to survive if he was careful. But Ryan wasn't careful with his money. Not because he was reckless or a big spender, but because he was incredibly kind. If a friend needed help with rent, Ryan didn't hesitate. If a coworker was short on cash for lunch, Ryan covered it. If family needed support for an unexpected bill, Ryan never asked questions. Money comes and goes, he'd always say with a soft, reassuring smile. People matter more. But slowly, and almost silently, the money stopped coming back. Every month started to look the same. His credit card balances grew a little higher. His savings, once a small cushion of security, completely disappeared. A heavy, persistent stress settled into his chest, a weight he carried with him from the moment he woke up until he finally fell into a restless sleep. Yet, Ryan kept giving. Why? Why would someone continue down a path that was clearly leading to their own financial ruin? Because he was afraid of one thing even more than poverty being seen as selfish. That one single fear was costing him everything. Have you ever noticed how the kindest people are often the most exhausted? It's because their kindness isn't just an act. It's a core part of who they are. But for people like Ryan, this kindness gets twisted into a dangerous cycle of people-pleasing. He wasn't just helping. He was desperately trying to buy his worth. He believed that if he said no, he would lose love, respect, and connection. He thought his value was tied directly to his usefulness. The day everything collapsed, Ryan wasn't just broke financially. He was emotionally bankrupt. The silence from the very people he had propped up was deafening. It wasn't just that they didn't offer to help him back. They didn't even check in. His phone, which used to ring off the hook with requests, was now silent. This wasn't just about money anymore. This was about his entire worldview shattering. The realization hit him like a physical blow. He hadn't built a community of friends. He had cultivated a list of and when the well ran dry, so did they. This story is incredibly common. Maybe it resonates with you. Maybe you're the Ryan in your circle of friends or family. You're the reliable one, the go-to person, the one who never says no. And maybe, just maybe, you're starting to feel the exhaustion, the resentment, the quiet fear that if you ever needed help, no one would be there. So what did Ryan do? For the first time in his life, he decided to be selfish, but not the kind of selfish that hurts others. The kind of selfish that heals yourself. He stopped answering every call. He started saying two simple, terrifying words: I can't. He set boundaries. It was the hardest thing he had ever done. Some people got angry. They called him selfish, changed, unreliable. They tried to guilt him back into his old role. And with each angry message, Ryan realized they didn't miss him. They missed what he could do for them. But something else happened. The people who truly cared, the ones who valued him for who he was, not what he could give, they stayed. They understood. They asked if he was okay. It was a smaller circle, for sure. But it was a stronger one. It was real. Rebuilding from zero was brutal. Ryan had to work 2 jobs, live on a strict budget, and face the consequences of his past generosity. But this time, he was building for himself. He learned that true kindness isn't about setting yourself on fire to keep others warm. It's about learning to hold the light for yourself first. You can't pour from an empty cup. If this story speaks to you, please know that your worth is not defined by your sacrifices. It's okay to put your own oxygen mask on first. Setting boundaries isn't selfish. It's essential for survival and for genuine, healthy relationships. It's the difference between being liked for what you do and being loved for who you are. If you're feeling overwhelmed and don't know where to start, talking to a friend, family member, or a mental health professional can make a world of difference. You don't have to carry this weight alone. What do you think? Have you ever felt like your kindness was taken for granted? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Have you ever counted how many people owe you money? Not just a few bucks for coffee, but serious amounts. One evening, a guy named Ryan did just that. He sat at his kitchen table, scrolling through his phone. 7 people, thousands of dollars in total. His heart pounded as he typed out a message to one of them. "Hey man, any chance you could send back some of what I lent you? Things are tight." The message was seen, but no reply came. He tried another friend. "Just checking in. Hope you're well. Could really use the money soon." Delivered. And then, silence. A third person actually replied, but their message stung more than the silence. "Bro, why are you stressing? You'll figure it out. You always do." Ryan dropped his phone, the words echoing in his head, the land bike staring at the ceiling, and a heavy question settled over him. When did my kindness become their comfort? That night, sleep was a distant dream. Instead, his mind replayed a highlight reel of his sacrifices, the overtime shifts he pulled to cover his own bills after lending money, the skipped vacations he told himself he didn't need, the countless small sacrifices that no one ever seemed to notice. Ryan wasn't angry. He was just empty. It felt like he was a well that everyone drank from, but no one ever helped refill. How long can a good person keep giving before there's nothing left inside? The answer came on a rainy Thursday, the kind of day that already feels gray and heavy. Ryan was at the grocery store, his cart filled with essentials. He got to the checkout, swiped his card, and it was declined. He tried again. Declined. A third time, the cashier gave him an awkward, pitying look. The people in line behind him started to sigh impatiently. Humiliation washed over him. Ryan mumbled an apology, abandoned his cart, and walked out. He sat in his car, the rain pounding on the windshield like a drumbeat of his failure. His hands gripped the steering wheel so tightly his knuckles turned white. That's when his phone rang, shattering the silence. It was his younger cousin. "Hey, Ryan." His cousin's voice was cheerful, oblivious. "I know it's last minute, but I really need $500. You're the only one I trust to help me out." And in that moment, something inside Ryan just snapped. He started to laugh. Not a happy laugh, but a hollow, broken sound that surprised even him. The world seemed to slow down. He could hear his own breathing, the rain, the frantic beating of his own heart. He took a deep breath, and for the first time, he found the words he'd been searching for. "I can't," Ryan said, his voice quiet but firm. There was a long, shocked silence on the other end of the line. Then, his cousin's voice, dripping with disappointment. "Okay, I didn't expect that from you." The call ended. Ryan stared at his phone, his reflection looking back at him from the dark screen. And he felt a strange cocktail of emotions. First, a wave of relief so powerful it almost made him dizzy. Then came the guilt, sharp and familiar. And finally, fear. Fear of what this meant, of who he was becoming. It made him wonder. And maybe you've wondered this too. Why does saying no to protect yourself sometimes feel harder than going completely broke? Why do we feel guilty for setting boundaries, even when we're the ones who are drowning? This is a story many of us live, but rarely talk about. The pressure to be the good one, the reliable one, can be crushing. Ryan's story isn't just about money. It's about the cost of kindness when it's not reciprocated. It's about realizing your own well-being has to be a priority. Learning to say no isn't selfish. It's a vital act of self-preservation. It's drawing a line in the sand and saying, my needs matter too. It's scary, and you might disappoint some people. But the people who truly care about you will understand. They won't see your no as a rejection, but as a necessary step for your own survival. If this story resonates with you, you're not alone. Share your thoughts in the comments below. Let's talk about it. That weekend, Ryan drove to visit his grandfather, Henry, Henry was 78, a man with rough hands, calm eyes, and a lifetime of wisdom earned the hard way. They sat on the porch as the sun dipped low, painting the sky in shades of orange and purple. Ryan didn't plan to talk, but the quiet peace of the evening, combined with the weight he'd been carrying, made the words spill out. The money he'd lent that never came back. The mounting stress that felt like a physical weight on his shoulders. The friends who had disappeared the moment he couldn't offer them something. Henry listened without interrupting, his gaze fixed on the horizon. When Ryan finally fell silent, the old man didn't offer empty reassurances or quick advice. Instead, he asked one simple, unexpected question. "Ryan, why do you think saving money is greedy?" Ryan frowned, taken aback. "I don't. I think helping people matters more. It feels wrong to save for myself when someone I care about is struggling." Henry nodded slowly, a lifetime of experience etched into the lines on his face. "Let me tell you something no one told me when I was young." He leaned forward, his voice dropping slightly, drawing Ryan in. "Never save money at the cost of your self-respect." Ryan looked confused. What did self-respect have to do with his savings account? Henry continued, his voice steady and calm. "I was generous like you. I believed my purpose was to lift everyone else up. I helped everyone who asked. I lent money I couldn't afford to lose. I worked myself into the ground so others could stand tall." He paused, letting the weight of his words settle in the cooling air. "And when I fell, no one was there to catch me." Ryan swallowed hard. He could hear the truth in his grandfather's voice, not bitterness, but a hard-earned lesson. "Money isn't evil, Ryan," Henry said, his gaze meeting his grandson's. "Boundaries aren't selfish, and being a kind person doesn't mean you have to make yourself available for abuse." He pointed a gentle but firm finger toward Ryan's chest. "You can't pour from an empty cup, and believe me, the world will drink you dry if you let it." That was the moment everything clicked into place for Ryan. It was a quiet epiphany, not a lightning strike. He realized his kindness, his generosity, had no protection. It was a house with no doors and no locks, open to anyone, and he was exhausted from trying to keep it from falling apart. He was so focused on being a good person for others that he had stopped being a good person to himself. The change didn't happen overnight. It was a slow, deliberate, and sometimes painful process. It began quietly, in the pages of a notebook. Ryan created a budget for the first time in his life, tracking where every dollar went. He learned the simple, powerful word, no. He stopped lending money he couldn't afford to lose forever. He stopped over-explaining his decisions. He just stopped. The first few weeks were brutal. The pushback was immediate and sharp. People he thought were his closest friends reacted badly. He heard it all. "You've changed. You're being selfish now. What happened to the old Ryan? We miss him." Every one of those comments felt like a small dagger. The old Ryan, the people-pleaser, wanted to jump in, to explain, to make them understand that he was still a good person, that he was just trying to survive. But then, he'd remember his grandfather's words, a phrase that became his mantra. "The people who benefit from your lack of boundaries will always hate your new boundaries." So he stayed silent. He let them be angry. He let them be disappointed. He let them walk away. And in that silence, something strange and wonderful happened. He started breathing easier. The constant knot of anxiety in his stomach began to loosen. It made him wonder, what if protecting yourself isn't cruel, but necessary? What if it's the most fundamental act of kindness you can perform? Monspa said. The storm of disapproval began to calm. Ryan's savings account, once perpetually empty, slowly began to grow. It wasn't a fortune, but it was his. It was a safety net woven from his own discipline and self-respect. As his finances stabilized, so did his mind. His stress softened. His confidence grew. He walked taller. Some people disappeared from his life for good. He mourned their loss, but he also recognized that their friendship was conditional. Others, the true friends, adjusted. They respected his new limits. A few even came back and apologized, admitting they had taken his generosity for granted. But Ryan no longer measured his worth by how much he gave away or how many people he pleased. His new metrics were different. He measured his life by a new set of values: peace, stability, self-respect. One evening, months after that life-changing conversation, Ryan sat alone in his apartment. But he wasn't lonely. He was just calm. Calm. The frantic energy of trying to be everything to everyone was phone and called his grandfather. "Hey, Grandpa," he said, a genuine smile in his voice. "Just wanted to say thanks." He didn't need to explain. Henry knew. "You're welcome, son," he replied warmly. "Welcome to the rest of your life." This story is a powerful reminder that true joy is not an act of selfishness. It's an act of self-preservation. It allows you to build a stable foundation from which you can genuinely help others without destroying yourself. If you've ever felt like you're pouring from an empty cup, he checked his bank account. It wasn't a huge amount, but it was his. A small smile spread across his face. You see, Ryan didn't stop being a kind person. He just stopped being so careless with his heart. He finally learned some crucial lessons. Good people are not meant to be used up. Kindness absolutely needs boundaries, and helping other people should never, ever come at the cost of destroying yourself. So, if you've ever felt a pang of guilt for saying no, or if you've been constantly taken for granted, or if you've completely lost yourself trying to save everyone else around you, please remember this. Being a good person should not cost you your future. Sometimes, the most loving and compassionate thing you can do is to protect yourself first. If this story resonated with you, let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear which part of this hit you the hardest. Remember, you are not alone in this feeling.